We are now less than a week away from the start of a new Premier League season, and like all ladder predictions, I'm sure you will laugh at some of my predictions, but this is just the nature of making predictions in any sport, particularly in football, where the passionate fans consider their team's success to mean everything to them. I know there will be future signings that will very likely impact the overall league standings, but as of the 6th of September, this is where my predictions currently stand. In the relegation zone, I have West Brom in 18th, Aston Villa in 19th, and Fulham in 20th. It is usually a very hard task for newly promoted teams to remain in the Premier League, as we particularly saw with Norwich, who actually won the championship in the 2018-19 season. I'm predicting that 2 of the 3 promoted teams will go back down. Both these teams have made very few signings as of present, even though I gotta say that retaining Matheus Pereira and signing him permanently is a great move for West Brom. I think that Fulham overall are the worst team in the comp, even though they look like they will be making a few signings towards the deadline, while I feel that West Brom will take the fight till the very end, but they will miss out staying up in the Premier League unfortunately. As for Aston Villa, they do have Jack Grealish, who drastically helped them avoid relegation last season, but it will take a mighty effort for them to stay up once again, and if Grealish does leave at any stage of the season, even with the signing of Matty Cash from Nottingham, I think that Villa will be condemned to the drop. 4 teams that I have just surviving are Crystal Palace, who I think will finish 17th, Sheffield United in 16th, West Ham 15th, and Southampton 14th. Crystal Palace really struggled at the conclusion of last season, even with not much to play for, but it wouldn't surprise me if this continues. They scored the second least amount of goals in the 2019-20 season, and only scored 3 goals in the last 8 Premier League games. They did sign a young promising attacking midfielder in Eberechi Eze, if I pronounced that correctly, but with the likes of Benteke and Zaha possibly leaving, this could be a major problem for a team who already struggled to create attacking opportunities and could use a few more signings for sure, particularly attacking-minded players to help the cause. Overall, I think they'll stay up by the skin of their teeth, so 17th for me for Crystal Palace. Sheffield United had a ripper season last time out and were able to finish 9th, and were probably unlucky that they didn't finish higher in their first season back in the Premier League for a while. But I have a strong feeling that the second season Blues will hit the Blades in a bad way for this coming season. They did sign Aaron Ramsdale as a necessity since Dean Henderson has gone back to Manchester United and has signed a long-term contract with them as well. They did have a rock-solid defense and have kept Chris Basham and John Egan, who have recently signed a contract extension to 2024. That's John Egan, that is. So they should be good in that department. Call me a hater if you will, but I just don't think Sheffield have the quality to be able to sustain this good performance again in the Premier League. So I'm predicting Sheffield to finish 16th. It seems to me at least, when West Ham have a good season, then the next season will be a bad one and vice versa. I think this time though, that they will have a similar season to the season they had last time out. Having Thomas Souček helped steer the ship in the second half of the past season and was key to helping West Ham stay up, and it will be great to see him operate for a full season in the heart of the midfield. They still haven't made any defensive signings yet, which is what they are in dire need of in my opinion. I still have faith in the likes of Felipe Anderson and Sebastian Halle to have good seasons, and of course Michail Antonio, who's usually reliable. So 15th for West Ham I think. Southampton I reckon will be a bit worse off. They have lost an important piece of the team in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg to Tottenham. Although they have so far made some good signings themselves through young centre-half Mohamed Salisu, who impressed at Real Valladolid, and Kyle Walker-Peters, who now is with the team permanently. I just don't think Danny Ings will be consistent enough to have another 20 plus goal season, and there will be more of a reliance on James Ward-Prowse now in midfield in Højbjerg's absence. And I might be incredibly harsh here, but I just don't see Southampton finishing higher than 14th, and additionally replicating their excellent attacking prowess for the 2019-20 season. Just outside the top half of the table, I have Burnley 13th, Newcastle 12th, and Leeds 11th. Burnley might be a team that don't really inspire kids to kick a football around, with a lot of their game plan basically being square balls up the field, but hey, it's worked for Burnley for some time now, and while I predict they won't be as good as they were last season, I still don't see any reason why they still can't be very defensively solid with the great defensive pairing of Ben Mee and James Tarkowski, who I seriously think should be playing regularly in the England national team. I additionally think that Burnley actually have decent depth, particularly in midfield and up front. Losing one of their best players in Jeff Hendrick will hurt a lot, and I don't think they'll be able to scrap in the top half of the table this time around, but they'll still be in a comfortable spot, so I think they're destined for 13th. Newcastle, I think, will slightly improve on the back of a 13th place finish last season. Jeff Hendrick is a really big signing for the team, and I think this instantly improves their midfield. With him pairing up with the likes of Sean Longstaff and Jonjo Shelvey, I really do see Newcastle being able to create problems against teams that will be around them ladder-wise. Jamal Lewis is a neat signing too, but the Magpies could use a better striker perhaps if they don't feel like Joe Linton will step up, as well as one more centre half to support the defence, which I could see as being their main liability. But for real, if Joe Linton stays, he really needs to be better, especially for the record price tag that they brought him in for. Newcastle for me have 12th written all over them. For the first time since 2004, Leeds United are finally back in the Premier League. Clearly the best team in the Championship last season, Leeds will be oozing in confidence, and I genuinely believe they can be a very solid team in the Premier League this season. They have shown real intent in cementing a regular spot in the Premier League with a ton of signings, quality signings as well. Although Ben White won't be coming back, they have signed German international Robin Koch, who is basically a German Ben White anyway, seeing that he loves to have the ball at his feet. Rodrigo is also an excellent signing, and although he isn't a prolific goal scorer, he is a very versatile player who can do the job in any attacking position. They have also kept the likes of Jack Harrison, Helge Costa and Ilhan Meslier, which only builds the pedigree of this Leeds team further. They have great players all over the pitch, but one player who I think will thrive in the Prem will be Calvin Phillips, who can now display his true class in the top tier. I'd honestly think they could easily be in the top 10, but I think it will take some time for some of these signings to gel, so I have them in 11th. In the 10 to 8 spots, I have Brighton 10th, Leicester 9th and Everton 8th. This will come at a huge surprise for many, but I can really see Brighton cracking into the top 10. Brighton have quietly put together a solid transfer summer, with their biggest signing being in Dutch international Joel Veltman from Ajax, who I tip to become one of the biggest signings in this transfer window in England. And if you can beat the Brighton defense, you still have to beat one of the better shop stoppers in Matt Ryan. Adam Lallana will also give Brighton an extra spark in attack. The Seagulls actually had the 8th most shots last season, and if Maupay and Trossard can improve slightly, then I think they can score plenty of goals next season as well. They have lost Darren Roy, Martin Montoya and Shane Duffy, but I don't think this will give Brighton any major concerns, and I have a feeling they will surprise with a 10th place finish. Now to Leicester, and I do not think they will be challenging for any Champions League spots this season. Part of this comes down to the fact that they will be playing in the Europa League next season, with their squad going to be absolutely stretched. Furthermore, I don't think they'll get the same output as they did last season overall. Jamie Vardy will be turning 34 this season, and with his game being reliant on his pace, I don't think he'll be able to score more than 15 goals for the 2021 Premier League season. They have also lost influential fullback Ben Chilwell to Chelsea, but they have replaced him with Belgium international Timothy Castagne from Atalanta, and having watched a lot of Serie A the past year, I do like him, and they have done well to try and fill the void Chilwell leaves behind. I haven't forgotten about all the other quality players either that they have around the pitch, like Kaglar Soichu, Yuri Tillemans and James Maddison for example, but with Europa League duties, and with my estimation of Leicester scoring less goals this season, means for me that they will probably won't do much better than finishing 9th. Everton have made huge announcements with signings of James Rodriguez from Real Madrid and Alan from Napoli. I actually believe that Alan will be the more important signing here. He, for me, is one of the best box-to-box midfielders in the world, and I see him instantly becoming the heart of the Everton midfield, drastically improving this team. Of course, with the signing of James Rodriguez, you'd expect Everton to create even more opportunities in attack now, even though I don't think James will be a superstar to be fair, but he will still play a very important role for Everton. I still have concerns for this team defensively, but I think a lot of it was more so to do with the midfield being penetrated through too easily last season. Don't forget as well that they are loaded in attack with Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who are both still young, and I predict both of them to take their games to the next level with the new additions coming in. 8th place is a very fair prediction for the Toffees, I think. Now, to the teams missing out in the top 4, I have Arsenal 7th, Tottenham 6th, and Wolverhampton 5th. Even though Arsenal have been active in the transfer window, acquiring the services of Willian and Gabriel, and have additionally permanently signed Cedric, they still have some glaring frailties, particularly in the defense. I assume it will take time for Gabriel to gel with the defenders, so they will still be vulnerable in this area, especially with David Luiz, who is badly prone to making bizarre errors. I'm very curious to see if Arsenal will predominantly keep using 3 at the back in a 3-4-3 formation, which could help the Gunners stay more compact centrally. They are still a glaring threat in attack, with a deadly duo in front of Lacazette and Aubameyang, and I really want to see Bukayo Saka make at least 28 appearances in the Premier League this season, as he is a very exciting talent he'll keep on improving. I do still have concerns about their midfield, especially when compared to the genuine teams. They do seem to have a competent coach now in Mikel Arteta, so they'll be better this season, but I still think they're well off from the genuine title contenders, so I have them finishing 7th. For Tottenham, is Jose Mourinho the right man to lead the Spurs into the future? I think a lot will tell on what happens this season. They have world-class quality in Harry Kane, but even more so in Heung-min Son. I do think as well that their midfield does improve too with the addition of Højbjerg from Southampton. I am not the biggest fan of their defense, however, and when I say I'm not a fan of the defense, what I really mean is I'm not a fan of Davinson Sanchez. I don't think he can develop into an elite defender that can be an asset for any top 4 side, but I am a fan of the Matt Doherty signing from Wolverhampton, and he will be a very welcomed addition so they could finally get rid of Serge Aurier, who was basically incompetent last season. Dele Alli was on fire when Mourinho came into the club, but he did slow down as the season went on. He simply has to be more consistent for Tottenham to be any chance of a top 4 finish, and Harry Winks and Musa Sissoko are players that simply need to be better, with Winks in particular just seeming to be capable of only making backwards passes or sideways passes and lacks genuine ability on the ball. Although this Spurs side is a good side, I don't think it's a side that can make the top 4, and I have them in 6th. Wolverhampton had a terrific season and will be aiming to build on this, and I really don't see why they can't do even better. I mean, they're solid in all areas of the field. Rui Patricio in the sticks is very reliable. They're immensely underrated defensively to the point where I legitimately think they have one of the best defenses in the league, with Cody, Sainz and Bowley all excellent defenders in their own right. You could add Dendoncker to this list too, but he operates really well in midfield, and this is where I think he should play if possible, but his versatility definitely helps the Wolves. João Moutinho is also a big key for this Wolves squad and is the engine of that midfield, and he has a great partner in Ruben Neves too. Adama Traore is a beast, as we all know, but so is Raul Jimenez, who I reckon might be able to score 20 goals for the upcoming season. Losing Matt Doherty will hurt, but Johnny Otto is still a nice player on the left-hand side. Jota's versatility is useful too, and he has shown an eye for goal too. My only problem with this squad is that it is not deep, and they will need to do more in the market to make a serious claim for the top 4 spot. And even with the likely signing of young prodigy Fabio Silva from Porto, which will be a massive signing if they are able to pull it off, they'll get close to a Champions League finish in the top 4, but I have them just missing out in 5th. Getting to the boiling point now, and I have Man United 4th and Chelsea 3rd. As I have mentioned, a lot can still happen in the transfer market, and I don't think Man United are completely finished yet with their moves, but from what they've done so far, it's been great. Donny van de Beek is a quality signing and will be a very important piece to the team, and this makes Man United's midfield, I think, good enough to be competitive with the very top teams. I think De Gea will start in goal to begin with, but he will have to be great now with Dean Henderson now back with the Red Devils. Man United would have had a perfect transfer window, I reckon, if they could have landed Jadon Sancho, but this looks off the table now. They shouldn't be too mad since they still have a well-functioning attacking front line of Martial, Rashford and Greenwood, And with Bruno Fernandes in the attacking midfield position, there'll be a lot of goals for United. Bruno Fernandes now has the full season to really showcase the damage he can cause to opposing defences and could seriously go for 15 goals and 15 assists in what would be a ridiculously good season for him. The defence of Man United I actually think is solid, and Maguire, although made some real blunders towards the end of the season, was great for the most part, but they could use with one more centre half in my opinion. They don't have the best depth, however, compared to some of the top 4 teams around them, and I think this hurts their chances at a Premier League title. Man United for me will have to make do with 4th. Chelsea have had the best transfer window of all clubs, with the past transfer ban working out to be a blessing in disguise, as many clubs struggle with finances thanks to the devastating pandemic. Thiago Silva, Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, Ben Chilwell and Malang Sarr are all exceptional signings that give Chelsea a real chance for Premier League glory. A definite weakness, however, is that Kepa isn't good enough for Chelsea in my opinion, and with him turning 26 in October, there will not be a lot more scope for improvement. Yes, keepers usually do peak later in their careers, but he doesn't have much time to reach it, and the mistakes he makes are really schoolboy errors. Thiago Silva will help steer the Chelsea defence with his great leadership, which was sorely needed for a defence that looked really out of sorts last year, and they can finally get rid of Marcos Alonso out of the lineup with Ben Chilwell coming in. The arrivals of Timo Werner and Hakim Ziyech make the losses of Willian to Arsenal and Pedro to Chelsea very minor ones, and with the trio of Pulisic once he comes back from injury, Ziyech and Werner, it makes for a deadly trio which is up there for the best attacking trio in any league. Tammy Abraham, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Olivier Giroud are also great options to have off the bench too, and it shows that Chelsea are unbelievably stacked up front. The midfield will be stronger too, with competition among 4 to 5 players for midfield spots now, with Kovacic, Havertz, Jorginho and Kante all class players. Overall, Chelsea now have the squad depth in place to compete for silverware, but I think it might just be one season too early for them, so 3rd it is. So for 2nd place, I have gone with Liverpool. You just look at the team all over the park and they have a very strong starting 11. Alisson is one of the best keepers in the world. They have one of the best centre-backs in the world in Virgil van Dijk, a man mountain that's really hard to get past and has the complete package. Joe Gomez is a world-class defender himself who's well on his way to becoming one of the world's best centre-halves. Liverpool also easily have the best 2 fullbacks in the league, with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson always running up and down the flanks like no other fullbacks, and the ball distribution is insanely fantastic from any position in the park. Their midfield doesn't get enough praise in my opinion, and a particular player who doesn't get enough praise in this position, I feel, is Gini Wijnaldum, who has exceptional dribbling ability and is very important for Liverpool in dictating the tempo with an insane 91 passing accuracy last season, easily the best of any Liverpool player statistically. Salah, Mane and Firmino are also a ridiculous trio in attack, and both are still very much in their prime, all currently 28 years old. The only main issue to me is their depth, particularly up front, which was somewhat addressed in the signing of Takumi Minamino, but I don't think he's as great as some of the other depth options other teams have. They did sign fullback Kostas Tsimikas, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but they haven't made many moves so far. However, if Thiago moves to Anfield, this would perhaps be the best signing in the world over summer and could possibly swing my prediction towards them winning it. But that hasn't happened yet, so I can only go from what has happened so far. They may have finally won the Premier League last season after 30 long years, but I think they will just fall short of going back to back and will finish runner-up. With Liverpool finishing 2nd, this means that I have Manchester City finishing 1st. The starting 11 I actually believe is slightly weaker than Liverpool's starting 11, but hear me out. Where Manchester City excel over Liverpool and over everyone else in the Premier League is the ridiculous depth they have. I really do believe that with there being 5 subs for this season and a general shorter turnaround for games, this will allow City to thrive more than any other team, and this will enable them to put out a very strong starting 11 for every single match played in the 2021 season. They have also added to their depth with a well-needed centre-back in Nathan Ake and young gun Ferran Torres. Ake instantly improved City's defense. If Laporte can stay healthy for a full season, they'll finally have a proper defense that can match it with the better teams in the comp. Depth in this area is still a bit of a problem though defensively. I'm not a fan of John Stones and especially Nicolas Otamendi, and Eric Garcia is still developing being that he's still 19. Depth really isn't an issue though in both fullback positions, with all Walker, Mendy, Zinchenko and Cancelo all great options. Their midfield is among the best in the world. Kevin De Bruyne is simply the best midfielder in the world right now and is vital to the setup of the City squad, having god-like vision and strength when dribbling the ball that is unmatched by anyone in the Premier League. Phil Foden, Rodri and Ilkay Gundogan are also fantastic pieces for the City midfield. The loss of Leroy Sané has zero impact on the insane amount of options City can call on in attack in Raheem Sterling, Sergio Aguero, Riyad Mahrez, Bernardo Silva, Ferran Torres and Gabriel Jesus, who I predict to score 20 goals this season. Finally, Man City have a lot of players in this squad who are very versatile and many are able to play in multiple positions like Fernandinho, Kyle Walker, Kevin De Bruyne and many others too. For me, Manchester City will be the Premier League winners of the 2020-2021 Premier League season. To my other predictions, and for the player of the year, it's really hard to go past Kevin De Bruyne. He won it last season even without playing a full season, and if he can put a full season together, avoiding injury in the process, he will likely be even better. For top goal scorer, I will go for a bit of a left field selection and go for Raheem Sterling, as he will not get rotated out of the squad as much I reckon, and is obviously very prolific in front of goal. Nuno Espirito Santo is who I predict will win Coach of the Year. I think he will further improve this Wolves side, and he will drag him into a fight for a spot in the 2021-22 Champions League season. My other predictions include that I think Brighton will be the team that will surprise everyone. I think the best signing will be Hakim Ziyech, who I think will be impressive from the get-go. And unfortunately for me, I think the biggest disappointment will be Sheffield United. It's a bit harsh on them, particularly that they had a great season last time out. I just think that because they're going to be dropping so far down the ladder, in my opinion, that's the only reason why I have Sheffield United. So there you go. I want to hear your predictions down in the comments section, and whether you agree or disagree with any of the predictions which I have made. Subscribe to the channel for more content as well.